you call this? I did think about it and go, yeah, I guess I am successful in the sense that if you look at cast from pre-prod to when we released issue 12, which is like double size, like 50 pages, cast will be, include the backups, we'll have about over 400 pages of story, which is probably, from my count, it's probably one of the longest single stories in local comics. And if you don't count mga Darna and whatnot back there, but in the last, at least in the last decade, from the 90s up to now, last 20 years, the only one who has more output than me is Arnold. Because the guy's a machine. My God, the guy in between issues, like between issue 11 and 12, 2 months he oh Jamie, I made a new book. 250 pages I did in like 2 months. Wrote and drew 250 pages in 2 months.
Was that the mythology thing? I think I saw.
Myth Classes, no, he did that back in 2000.
Ah, okay.
This is a new one, which will be coming out this year, which I'll be publishing. So keep your eye for that one also. No, aside from it, because he did Mythology Class, which is like 200. No, it's 350 pages. He did After Eden, which is about 200 something pages. His Ando Agimat, which is about to be a movie, so it's on 200 something pages. His shortest is Trip to Tagaytay, which is around 40 pages. So if you look at his output, Arnold's got about 1,000 pages, you know, which is more than any of us. You know. Next would be, I think, the Cast is probably the next longest story. Then after that you have, I think, Marco Di Mano's Angel Ace, which is around, and then you have PR Trooper, something like that, which is about 10 issues. Then you have Joshua Saturna, which is 2 books, it's around 100, 200 pages. You know, but for me, I like to be number 2, and you know, in terms of length, to stick with the story, I think, you know, shows how much I think I love the story. Aside from that, I've done, you know, I've published 2 books that won the National Book Award, the 2 Siglo books. I think we're the only comic company that has 2 National Book Awards. So I have that. I've done a 24-hour comic. You know, I've had cast who sold in the States. You know, so I've actually accomplished a lot more than most other. Yeah, it feels great. It feels great to be successful. But the funny thing is that, you know, for any young writer, any young creator, you never actually feel. I think in fact it's rare. You have to will yourself to actually like now to will yourself to think that, hey, I've accomplished quite a lot for that. Because whenever all of us, you know, for all my friends in this industry, we always feel that kulang pa, we could do so much more. You know, you ask anyone who were successful, like Arnold, Carl Vergara, Jerry Alandilan, all these guys, and you think, wow, they made it, you know. But when I talk to them, they always, God, there's so much more I want to do, so many things, and that's good because, you know, it makes you want to keep going on, and it makes, of course, for readers, it's good because a lot of new stuff comes out. You know, so, and of course, for us being successful artistically is good, being successful financially is good because it gets us more readers. If we're financially successful, you learn how to distribute it better, how to promote it better, which is my goal. You know? So I'm hoping this year I'll be even more successful because with these new projects that I'm doing. Especially now that I'm learning to market them in a new way also. So some of it feels good, but it's never enough. It's never enough. And the moment it is enough, there's actually something wrong. I think there's something wrong. Yeah.
What do you think is your contribution to society?
Well, actually, I always see, you know, as an author, I think that, you know, the writings themselves are a good contribution. But in what way? You know, many people say, artist, what does that do? You know? One thing, you know, you'll notice that you talk to any writer. I'm not sure about art. I'm not sure about. I'm sure I guess artists also, but especially with writers. A lot of writers, you look at their body of work. They will usually return to certain themes that they revisit, or there's something that's always in all of their stories is an aspect. Even if they go to different genres like horror, comedy, drama, detective, sci-fi, fantasy, you'll always see something that's recurring, a recurring truth or theme that's in all of them. And that's usually because that's that writer's personal, it's not just style, it's their personal mission, I guess. The thing that they want to express. You know, like Neil Gaiman will always have his Uber Lost, that's sort of, you know, something he likes to explore. Elbert, we were talking about it, and we looked at all the stuff he writes, and he's very interested in history. He likes looking at because he always feels about it's important to know where we've come from and let it learn from the mistakes of the past, that kind of thing. If you look at all of my works, the recurring themes are always about relationships. But no matter what genre I do, whether it's superheroes, like we did the Project Hero, that sort of giveaway we gave. Even if it was a superhero comic, I still had a relationship aspect in it. Of course, cast is all about relationships. Even this one I'm pitching, it was about diving and what there's still relationships. I always focus on the theme. For example, the people, relationships are important. The way you deal with people is important. Sometimes we're so into ideals. This is the truth. This is what's right. But then sometimes we do it at the expense of our relationship with people. For example, it's like Manny, for example. The character of Manny is someone who's always idealistic. This is the way the play should be, or Mons, it has to be perfect. But they'll do it by sometimes putting down some other people or ignoring certain people. And for me, it's nice to have a higher purpose, but you should not be at the expense of people. And most of my stories are always have that theme in it. A lot of my stories talk about how to deal with other people. Cast, aside from being about romance and theater and whatnot, at its heart is about relationships. How friendship, the way friendship, how the friendship work, how do you resolve conflicts? If you're in a romantic relationship with a person, how do you deal with that? How do men and women deal with their differences? That's why this cast has all the different levels of relationship. There's Will, there's Lel and Joe with the unrequited, and Will and Cess also with the exciting trying to get the girl stage. There's Maita and Elmore, the honeymoon phase, so in love. There's a Janina and Clarence phase, which is sort of later on in the relationship where things are sort of going sour because they're trying to establish their own identity and how do you reconcile that with your relationship. So those are things that with cast I try to study, because I think my contribution to society when I write these stories is trying to teach people that how do you deal with other people, how do you relate to other people. Me and Arnold, I think the reason why we get along so well and why he's one of my favorite artists is because we enjoy the same themes about relationships. Albert always asks me why do you always like writing love stories? It's kind of like when John Lennon used to ask Paul McCartney, why all your songs are love songs? Why? Because John Lennon was very experimental. Well, Paul McCartney would always write these love songs, and Paul McCartney. That's why he wrote the song "Silly Love Songs." You'd think that people would have had enough of silly love songs, but I look around me and I see it isn't so. And that's how me and Arnold feel. We feel that love, romance. The reason why we write about it so much is because that's something that people ruin their lives over. I mean, look at people who get married so fast and then they get divorced, or they people kill each other over. I mean, it's and when you're a teenager, and I remember when I was a teenager, that seemed to be the most important thing, and I was always trying to figure out, is this love na ba talaga to, or is this just a crush? What's love really? It was such a big deal, and love is not something that's just flighty. I mean, it may look flighty, but it's because people underestimate how important it is. So when I write stories, for example, I don't just write. I hate writing cliches about relationships, because the reason why people get in trouble with relationships with each other is because they follow cliches. They listen to love songs and they think, it should be like this and ganyan. Like when I write cast, I don't just I base it on my own relationship. But aside from that, I read books I actually research. I buy books on relationships. I buy books talking about the differences between men and women, the way they it helps my own relationship. At the same time, for example, the way we listen, for example, or we deal with problems. Women will, when they have a problem, women generally they like to talk, because women the way their brains are structured, things are always floating around in their heads, and so when they have a problem, it's just there. The only way to release that is to talk about it. So they just want to talk, is to sort of let off steam.
Yeah.
Men, us, when we have problems, our brains are able to compartmentalize it. We can easily put it at the back of our heads. And because we are, from nature, we used to be like hunters and all that, to express to